Welcome to the Grassroots Army Podcast. This platform is for common sense people looking for up-to-date, accurate, and truthful information without the hot garbage corporate media bias. The power of one can lead to the power of many. You never know what small act that you may say or do that may literally change the lives of millions tomorrow. And don't you ever think that you can't make a difference, because you can. Good morning, my fellow Michiganders. Good morning, my fellow Americans. Welcome to the Grassroots Army Podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Garrett Soldano, and we have a great show for you here today. Okay, we have a couple things that we need to address. Is number one, President Trump appointed Dr. Oz to run CMS, which is the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about some proposed wind turbine locations back where I'm from on the southeast part of Michigan is Lenawee County. I despise these gosh darn wind turbines. They are a scam. We're going to break that down, and they are polluting our beautiful Michigan landscape. It's just out of control. I'm hoping that Lenawee County and the folks there rise up against it, because, you know, they are an eyesore. I just hate them. I despise them. They don't make any sense. And we're going to break that down here today. And we're going to talk about a troll. All right. A troll from our own side, the fringe right. They still call me a rhino. And what I love about these folks is whenever they just get all over me over on X, and we're going to talk about X too, I say, hey, why don't you come on and we'll talk about your strategies on your political insights on how to win in Michigan. They go very dark after you invite them on the show to have a conversation. They attack you. They call you a rhino and everything else. And you're like, hey, why don't you come on and defend your stance? And they go dark. All I hear is crickets. And so, like I told you all before, I will continue to call out everyone on both sides of the aisle. If you do hot garbage, expect hot garbage. And I will continue to call out your hot garbage. That is for sure. So let's get right into Dr. Oz. Robert Kennedy said this yesterday. Very excited that my friend Dr. Oz has agreed to run CMS. Thank you, real Donald Trump, for his outstanding nomination. Welcome, Dr. Oz, to the Avengers. As you guys all know, I'm a fan of Robert Kennedy. I am not all of his policies, but I am a fan as an American, as a chiropractor, as a healthcare professional, on allowing him the ability to make America healthy again. Here's the problem with Dr. Oz. Now, look, we're not going to agree and like everyone that's appointed from President Trump. We're not. That's normal. But our job as we the people is we voted President Trump in, but our job is to hold accountable the people that he does put in, especially people that have a past of basically supporting the chemical castration and the mutilation of children. I don't agree with that. I made my stance on that perfectly clear. If you're a medical doctor and you're chemically castrating these kids and mutilating their body permanently because they think they're a boy or girl when they're children, you should lose your medical license. You should be thrown in jail. That is what I believe 100%. You're not going to change my mind on this, because the majority of these folks, as they go through puberty and they become adults, the majority of these kids who may identify as something else, a cat, a boy, a girl, end up just accepting that they're gay. That's just truth. That's what the research shows. And what these people are doing with the indoctrination and confusing these kids. Hey, look, if your kid wants to identify as a cat, as a parent, you don't get them a litter box. You get them help. You get them therapy, and you support and you love your child all the way through that process. And hopefully you bring them out of that fantasy land that they're living in. Same thing with them thinking that they're a boy or girl. Holy cow, these girls that play with Tonka trucks, that like wrestling, that roughhouse and beat up all the neighborhood boys when they're in middle school, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're boys. They're what's called a tomboys. How about we make tomboys great again? How about we put an emphasis on that, hey, if you're a girl and you want to play with trucks and do boy things, that's fine. Or if you go through and you start questioning your sexual identity, that's fine. But let's allow these kids to go through puberty, have good conversations with the parents and a support group and a therapist if needed. And then when they turn adult, hey, if they want to be transgender at that time, if they want to mutilate their own bodies, or if they want to start taking supplements to jack up their hormones, guess what? That's America. I don't care. But I do care when these parents feel very virtuous that they're helping these kids transition. You're wrong. Be a parent, parent. It's like be a doctor, doctor. So Dr. Oz, man, I do not agree with his stance on this. Let's show a video that I found that's floating on an X. Hey, look, too, I'm going to talk about some things that are going to get me flagged on Facebook and YouTube. I'm used to it, whatever. But if you want free speech, if you really want to find out what news is, the news is X now. The news is We the People, and it's over on X. Follow us at Grassroots Army, not Grassroots. That was taken. Grassroots Army. Follow us. Go there right now. If you're on X, if you're on Twitter, minimize the screen if you're on your phone. Go to X. Find us at Grassroots Army. Give us a follow because I am pushing the envelope over there with everything that I enjoy talking about the vaccines, about everything else that you really can't talk about on Facebook and YouTube, and definitely not TikTok. I can't post any of my stuff on TikTok. I am like one strike away from getting deplatformed for a third time because I'm standing up for these girls that don't want boys in locker rooms and restrooms and men competing in women's sports. And that's considered hate on that communist platform. So if you're on X or if you're on Twitter, or if you're not, get back on. It is a great platform as of right now. Thank you, Elon Musk. Follow us at Grassroots Army. Okay, so let's talk about the first video I have on Dr. Oz, basically supporting the chemical castration and mutilation of children, which I don't agree with.
Let's meet a family living with that very question every day. Vanessa's here with her daughter, Josie. Welcome to the show. Vanessa, your husband, Joseph's in the military. He's not able to join us today.
Correct.
You know, early on, you probably had a sense that Josie was different. And when did you recognize that Josie was transgender?
It was during a regular well baby exam. The pediatrician was looking at her. He got really quiet and just sort of watched her for a while. And he brought up a term, gender identity disorder. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, what's that? He said, you know, like transgender. I was like, could you spell that for me? I had no idea what he was saying.
That's when you learned about it?
That is.
How are you, Josie?
Good.
She has a lot of spark to her, I gotta say.
She does indeed.
Do you remember when your parents thought you were a boy?
A little bit.
Talk to me about that a little bit. What do you remember?
Like, how did it make you feel when I used to take you and get your hair cut off at the barber shop on base?
It made me very angry.
Mm-hmm. You did not like your haircut. Why not?
Because I'm a girl, not a boy.
Yeah.
How do you do the basic things? I mean, how do you decide?
Oh, man, it's just, come on. And I look, it's obviously a very touchy subject for parents who are witnessing their kids kind of go through these things. I get all that. Okay, I do. So you get them the help, you support them, you love them, you don't put negativity on it. You don't buy in to their thoughts. Let them mature, let them get through puberty, help them through that process, get them conversation with therapists, the professionals, the right ones, obviously. The ones in California push the narrative even further. And that's the insanity, because guess what? Big pharma is a business, and business is good when they're making lifelong patients, when they're chemically castrating these kids, when they're jacking up their hormones, and they got to be on these supplemental medicines for the rest of their life. It's a repeat customer. It's a great business plan. It's evil as hell, but it's a great business plan when you make people sick for the rest of their lives. And that is what big pharma, unfortunately, in some of their companies and departments, that's what they're good at, is making money. Okay. So to move on from that hot garbage to something else is, let's talk about the vaccine issue with Dr. Oz. Okay, so I'm going to show a clip again that I found on X. Again, go over on X. You're missing out. Grassroots Army, give us a follow, about his beliefs and views. And Dr. Oz is like most medical doctors. There's not all medical doctors, but most medical doctors are for vaccinating. That's fine. Let's have a conversation. But you're going to find out on this video that his kids are not vaccinated. His wife doesn't believe in it. And that's okay. That's where these conversations have to happen. Where I disagree with Dr. Oz is, number one, he believes in transitioning and helping those kids transition. I don't have a problem with adults transition. Let me get to that very, very important point. I don't have a problem if you're an adult and you want to transition, you want to be a boy or girl. It's America. Great. Awesome. Fantastic. You do you. I'll do me. I don't have to agree with it, just like you don't have to agree with everything that I do, but we can live in peace and I can appreciate you. That's it. However, what I have a problem with Dr. Oz is he's going to be head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Now, I think I've heard this. I've been trying to find this online, but I heard that you cannot be in Medicaid if you don't follow the CDC recommendations for vaccines. Like if you say, I don't want them, I don't think they will allow you to be in Medicaid. If I'm wrong on that, please let me know. I'll come on here and say, yep, I was wrong. Somebody sent me the information. But that's what I remember. I've been out of like the vaccine game in a while. I used to speak on it a lot over a decade ago. But then all this other garbage happened and I kind of got off point with the vaccinations because I believe in choice. You want to vaccinate your kids? I don't care, but don't force me to do what I don't want to do with my family, my kids. But when you're a head of a department of Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, I got all the criteria, what his description is going to be. And he's basically going to develop and implement policies for Medicare and Medicaid, lead initiatives to improve the quality, accessibility, and affordability of healthcare for millions of Americans, work on programs to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse in these systems. See, all that's good. I think if we get the right person, kind of limit government and everything else and make the system better, I am all for that. And Dr. Oz may be absolutely fantastic with that. President Trump might have met with him, sat him down, say, hey, what's your plan for Medicare and Medicaid? And Dr. Oz, with all of his knowledge in medicine and stuff and all of experience in Medicare and Medicaid, is because as doctors, we deal with this. I deal with this all the time. And he's like, holy cow, do we need to restructure this system? We can make it better. And he probably had his big old plan. And President Trump was like, hey, you're the right man for the job. And that's totally fine because healthcare reform implementation is very important. That's another job description. Okay. Ensure CMS policies align with the broader healthcare goals of the administration, reducing costs, improving health outcomes, coordinate with other federal agencies to advance healthcare reforms, regulatory oversight, oversee the regulatory framework governing Medicare and Medicaid providers, including hospitals, physicians, and other healthcare facilities, budget and resource management, obviously, collaborate with state governments, private insurers, healthcare providers, and advocacy groups. That's if he goes in there and makes Medicare and Medicaid better, hey, you're the right man for the job. Here's what I am putting out a caution. I'm not making an accusation. I'm going to sit back like you, we the people, and I'm going to watch. But what I don't want to have happen is to allow Medicare and Medicaid to pay for gender reassignment surgeries for children, puberty blockers for children, chemically castrating children. I don't want that. I don't want you to implement forced vaccination. If Medicaid or Medicare says, hey, sorry, you can't be in unless you follow what we say, right? Just like they did with everything else with the COVID vaccine, or you're fired or you're kicked out and everything else. I don't agree with that. All right. But I'm going to give the guy an opportunity. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch, which I urge all of you, because we're not going to fall asleep on the watch again, like we did in the past. We're going to watch and we're going to hold accountable every elected official, every appointee. That's why X is such a great platform right now. See how I keep doing that? I'm pushing out a narrative. The narrative is follow Garrett on X at Grassroots Army. Okay. But it's our job as we the people to hold these folks accountable. And what's funny is a lot of the liberals are jumping ship over there on X because it's accountability time. They can't argue with the truth because before Elon Musk bought it, it was a narrative. And if you posted the truth, you got censored, you got deplatformed, you couldn't get anything. They threw you down in the algorithms. Now it's open free game over there. And all these liberals are just getting demolished over there with facts. What are they doing? They're getting very quiet. They're blocking comments and then they're leaving. They're going to other platforms. Threads is one. I'm over on Threads. That's Facebook's solution to X. And there's another one that Dana Nessel and not Dana Nessel, I think Jocelyn Benson went over. I haven't went to that social media platform, but they're all leaving to start their own echo chamber again because X is where they used to hang out, but now accountability is happening and it's fantastic to see, which it should happen. Hey, you should not be blocking people's comments if you're in office. If you're a private citizen, you can block whoever you want. I block people all the time. I don't care. I'm not running for office. Okay. So Dr. Oz, I want to show this clip on how much he is for vaccinating children, which is fine. It's a choice. Keep it a choice.
Your children vaccinated?
Definitely yes.
Definitely yes.
Definitely yes. I got this morning. We had independently decided to be
Get your kid a flu shot
on this topic.
Isn't it too late?
No.
So I'm about to have my first ever flu shot.
Literally the biggest needle I could find.
Oh,
And please.
should children have them?
It's recommended that after the age of 6 months, I think can be beneficial with very low side effect. I mean, we've got 130 million of these little vials out there waiting to help people with. Let's take advantage of it.
If I get flu now, I'm coming after you.
Or do you recommend every single person get the flu shot?
I think we all ought to get the flu shot. I do every year. Most doctors are required by their institutions.
The CDC advisory panel recommended that the vaccine against not just the virus that causes genital warts, but also the virus that causes cervical cancer be applied not just for girls, but also for boys. The measles vaccine is very different. It gives you lifelong immunity for 99+% of people with 2 shots when you're a child. It's remarkably effective.
How do you convince me? How do you convince the other parents out there that we need to do this?
Careful, I'm going to get it.
Yes.
If that helps at all, but I'll tell you, my wife is not going to immunize our kids because I've got 4 of them, and when I go home, I'm not Dr. Oz, I'm Mr. Oz, and we don't want to subject our kids to even more shots. I respect that. I get that in my own family. I have that conflict with my wife. In my family, I want to give it. My wife will not. So in my own family, I've got a civil war going on, which I think is very representative of what happens across the country. And we have both studied it. And despite both studying it, have very different opinions on it. And it's not just about talking to the kids about sex. There's a bigger philosophical problem my wife has about vaccinations, which has always been a battle. I'll tell you, my wife is not going to immunize our kids.
So I like what he said. It's both him and his wife have researched that topic extensively, and they still have not come to an agreement. That's the hard part with vaccinations. It truly is, because you got research that says one thing and you have research the other, and the parents are just like pulling out their hair and they're like, hey, can you just guide me on what I need to do with my kids? And so that's why, as a healthcare professional, as a chiropractor, what I do with my patients in the clinic is I give them the other side. I'm like, hey, here's what your medical doctor is going to say. They're going to say, yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it. Here's the other side to it. Here's the education. I'm going to support your decision. That's what I do. I don't tell them that they have to, because they're still medical professionals. This is getting better. But around COVID and before COVID, medical professionals would kick out patients if they didn't follow the CDC guidelines. I don't agree with that at all. Not at all. That's not your job as a doctor. Your doctor is to teach. That's what doctor means, is to educate and then support your patient's decision. That's it. You don't have to kick them out. You don't have to shame them. You're like, hey, that's what it is, and hold them accountable. Like when I have folks come in that are obese, right? And they're saying my back hurts, my knee hurts. I'm saying, well, there's only going to be limitations what I can do. This is going to be mainly on you. You're overweight. That's what it is. You have to take pounds off your frame. When you're 200 pounds overweight, your knees and your low back, guess what, are going to hurt, and they're going to degenerate, and you're going to have lifelong problems. I tell all my patients this. I don't see too many fat old people. I don't. And if people says, hey, well, I'm big bone, I'm like, no, you're not. Dinosaurs were big bone. You just got fat around your bones. You got to lose weight. And I struggle with it too. I got to lean up too, because I know, and I've seen it in my clinic, when you're overweight, bad things happen in the future. All right. You get sedentary, your organs, it's bad, folks. And so you got to lean up. So it's giving the truth to the patients and holding them accountable, not buy in to their excuses. And Dr. Oz, as the new head of this agency, the CMS agency, that's fine. He's for the vaccines, but as long as he's not going to mandate them, and as long as you're not going to put gender reassignment surgery and chemically castrate and allow the government, which is tax-paying dollars, us, to pay for that, because I don't agree with that. I really, really don't. But if he goes in there and he does a great job and reforms it and makes the system better without doing those things, I'll be happy. Okay, I'll be happy. But it's up to us, we the people, to hold these folks accountable. Okay, because the corporate media is hot garbage now. It is corporate media. Let's just reflect back what my man Cuomo used to say, right, during the pandemic. So I found this clip on X this morning. I just wanted to revisit what he said and what truly happened.
Of course not. This is never as simple as vaccine good, vaccine bad. We have data to support the fact that there are thousands of people who have had adverse effects that are not getting attention.
Be nice to the unvaccinated. Don't shame them. Let them learn enough. This country is about the vaccinated and those who choose to put them at risk. The vaccinated are this country. They've all done the right thing. So how long must the majority wait for the stubborn, waiting on people who insist on making themselves and others sick? And there is no valor in being unvaccinated. Not getting vaccinated is what is unfair. This is on you. That it's good that you're not taking it to thwart the government trying to have a hand in your life. How much more are the vaccinated going to take from the vacuous as if it were some misplaced righteous cause? It's freedom. It's freedom not to take the vaccine. Because it's not about reason. It's about animus. It's about resentment. I mean, honestly, you sound like an idiot, so there's not much to say. But Tony, good luck with it. See you.
And so do you.
Yeah, only for having you on the show. That was my only mistake. Look, it's just stupid. I'm pro-freedom. I hate that he's Italian-American, by the way, because it plays into his stereotype. This suggestion that somehow there is a strength in the resistance to the science, to the mandate, stupid, ethnic, stereotype, masculine, moronic thing to be. Because look, I don't think it's a coincidence that some of those who are soft selling the vaccine are also among those ignoring January 6th or trying to minimize it, have decided to be free to get sick. Because the idea that it's just about choice and volition, this isn't making you get a tattoo. If the freedom's so important, I'm free to be stupid. Byron Donald's not going to take it because he doesn't care what Biden wants.
If there are Americans like myself who choose not to, please don't berate me for doing that. That is a personal choice I have made. It's my own health care. I am allowed to do that.
Here's the thing, Byron. Do you have the right? Of course, nobody's debating that except you guys as a false choice. What I'm saying is it right? That is being dumb as a proxy for being bold, because you're seeing some kind of righteousness and a choice to do something that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And why shouldn't I get opportunities as vaccinated that you don't get as unvaccinated? You don't want to get vaccinated. It's not because you know more about science. Just because you work in the hospital doesn't mean you're not susceptible to mis or disinformation or being vaccine hesitant. Amazing how selfish we have been in this situation when you think about it. And the selfishness, just in the simple statement of, I'm not getting it because, deep denial and selfishness. It is shameful. And to be clear, by we, I mean you who are not protected for yourself and loved ones yet. You guys are the issue, not the majority of the country that has already taken upon this task and now is being held hostage. There is going to be a consequence for irrational resistance. You being unprotected hurts my kids, hurts my mother. You are having your freedom stepped on because of those who believe freedom is about putting other people at risk. This is a tyranny of the unvaccinated. You have to have a vaccine passport. How are we going to know who got the booster and who didn't? We're going to have a way to track it. Ivermectin, a dewormer, really? Yeah. They need to be called out in shame. So resistant to reason and reliant on lies that they would rather try poison. You're not a horse. You are not a cow. Taking a drug that's given to livestock as an anti-parasitic, it doesn't work. Please don't take it.
I am taking a, what do they call it? Like a regular dose, whatever. They're trying to build up of ivermectin.
Oh, man, does that just piss you off? Does me. I mean, that's the stuff that we had to fight against, is just all the misinformation. And that's the problem with telling a lie. Consistently, people believe that it's truth. And I always like to bring up those videos because a lot of the people who did all those things, they just want that quietly swept underneath the rug. And I refuse to allow that to happen because we all took the brunt of that negative force, okay? Especially me and my family and everything else that we stood up for from the very beginning. So let's move from that hot garbage to the things I absolutely despise, the scam of the century, wind freaking turbines, okay? Here we go. Here are the proposed wind turbine locations for Lenawee County. This is the southeast side of Michigan where I'm from. That little top left, you see O-Town up there, Onstead, south of Adrian, by Blissfield. My goodness gracious, right northeast of Morenci, those are the proposed wind turbine locations for Lenawee County. I despise these things, and here's why, is they do not make any sense. They don't. Prove me wrong, okay? Prove me wrong. Here's what someone just told me this morning when I was having a conversation with them. The blades. Do you realize that the blades, if they're spinning constantly, okay, only last 5 to 7 years? Only 5 to 7. That's why when you go through these horrible wind farms and how horrible they look, you see some of them not spinning. You're like, why the hell is that one not spinning? Well, it's because they fall apart after 5 to 7 years, so they have to turn them off and on. Does that make any sense? Did that sound efficient to all of you? And not only that, to dispose of those blades and the materials, it's toxic. You can't recycle that shit. All they do is throw it in the landfill. So where are all the environmentalists, right? Where's all the environmentalists? Because what happens to these damn blades when they do turn, right? They kill the birds. They kill the birds. Where's PETA? They just stay silent, don't they? My goodness gracious, the two people who should be screaming from the rooftops, they don't say squat about it. They are not efficient. They suck. They truly do. And anyone that pushes this garbage, I'm going to hold them accountable, because what the government does, it gives subsidies, and the farmers or whoever leases out, they try to depreciate them over 20 years. But what happens is they break down, especially if you run the damn things for 5 to 7 years, and then we have a recycling problem, and it kills all the birds, not to mention the sound, the blight, and they're killing the whales in the ocean, and all the environmentalists just stay completely silent. Drill, baby, drill. Hey, solar, I don't agree with all solar, but some solar works when it's sunny, all right? But small nuclear reactors, I agree with that. Long-term energy dense solution, folks. Let's start putting the technology's great. They can recycle, I think, over 90% of the radioactive waste now. And you can take all of the radioactive waste that's ever been produced in the world, and it's not that big of a place. You just find some kind of concrete bunker in some kind of granite mountain, and you can store it there for 1,000 years. Nothing will happen. Even if it leaks, nothing's going to happen. And you only need a size of, I think, of a football field to put it in. That's it. And that's all the radioactive waste combined in the world together. That's how much there is. There's a great documentary that was made by, I think, Oliver Stone, a leftist. Nuclear Now, it's called. If you want to educate yourself on nuclear, hey, watch the documentary. Wind turbines are hot garbage. They suck. They're horrible to look at. And my goodness gracious, if you're in Lenawee County, in my home county, stand up against this stuff. Oh, it's just so bad. So bad. Do not California our Michigan. Do not do it. I can't say that enough. That's my new freaking hashtag. Do not California our Michigan. What you did with your public schools in California, what you did to your economy, the homeless problem, the list goes on and on. They're trying to basically follow California and everything here in the state of Michigan. That's why we need an executive at the helm of this thing to bring some common sense. My goodness gracious. Oh, gets me fired up. Let's go into the last thing. My little troll. I did a video stating the reasons why I'm not running. Okay. And the reason I'm not running is because at this time, I don't feel I have the right skill set. Okay. Back when I ran several years ago, we were in, I'll get to that in a second. We were in a constitutional crisis. So I firmly believe, like all of you who supported me, that we need a leader in there to at least stop the bleeding, stand for the Constitution, and we would figure the rest out once we got in there. But we were in lockdowns, we were in mandates, we were dealing with all this garbage, the businesses were getting throttled down, and we really needed somebody to have the courage to step up, and me and others stood up to represent the Constitution. But we always need a constitutional candidate, don't get me wrong, big part. But now it's moving on to who's the right person, who's the right executive, who's the right business leader who can make Michigan the powerhouse that we all know that it can be, and it used to be. So I made a video on that stating like, hey, we don't need a journalist. We don't need a social media influencer. Let's get some executives in there. I don't even want a legislator. I want someone who has some good business sense, kind of like President Trump. Okay. I don't have to agree with everything, but can you run this place like a business? Can you attract jobs? Can you control the insanity that's going on with our public school systems, with the indoctrination? I want that garbage out. Everything, right? So I made that video, and the troll came out, and he said, "We all know why you won't be running. You have been seen over the last 2 years being cozy with the Rhino establishment, folks. One of them plans to run in 2 years, and you are being a good soldier, going as far as telling the others not to run." So, these people are great. So they're calling me a rhino, which I've been called a rhino many, many times. And they're saying I'm hanging out with Rhino establishment folks. So here's what happened in the state of Michigan during President Trump's won. What happened? We won. President Trump won by early voting, which we're all called rhinos. No, we won in-person voting. Guess what? It didn't work, right? And the only way we're going to have change is to win. Guess what? We won. And not only that, we won the legislature back. So now we can dig our heels in the sand. And guess what? It was from a group effort. It was from unity. It wasn't from a bunch of Republicans. There was a very small minority still screaming from the rooftops about, no, show up and vote. They're going to steal the ballots, blah, 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 blah. We won. The plan worked. So y'all got to eat some humble pie and realize that the plan worked. And Pete Hoekstra came in, was put in a very tough position as the head of the Michigan Republican Party, was able to get money in. It helped up and down the ticket. We won back the state. Unfortunately, we came up a little short with Mike Rogers. Now we got Alyssa Slotkin. However, we got the legislature back. So the plan worked. Okay. But we still got these rhino accusers. I hate that word even, because if you and I can agree with 80%, then we're friends. We're allies. You're not a rhino. These people are so fringy, and they'll just continue to kick from the rooftops, and they'll never get anything done. All they do is kick and scream like 2-year-old children. So I will continue to call them out. I will. You want to call me a rhino? Fine. But all I do and all I want to do is win. And that's why over the next couple years, I'm going to live and breathe to try to get the terrible three replaced with some great candidates. It doesn't mean I have to agree with them 100% of the time, but I want to win. We got to win the middle. We have that by having conversation, not digging our heels in and saying, I'm never going to change. No, it's not. You got to have a good candidate that can appeal to the middle, just like President Trump did. Do I agree with everything that President Trump does? Nope. President Trump used to be old school Democrat, which is fine. He put in Dr. Oz, which I'm like, a little cautious, don't know, but I'm not going to start, he's a rhino, President Trump. No. Unity. So what do I always deal with these folks? So I kind of hit back every time and then when I read their comment. I said, oh my goodness, did you come up with that all by yourself? And he said, 2 years from now, we shall all see who is running and throw your support behind. I can already guess who it will be. He's laughing. I said, okay, well, great. I have an idea I'd love to share with you. How about you joining me on the Grassroots Army podcast? We can have a lively, engaging conversation about your political insights and strategies for winning in Michigan. The best part, it will be live. Jay, are you out there? Reaching an audience of around 100,000 people across all my platforms. Let's dive into the issues, share ideas, and even engage in a friendly debate. You game, Jay? You're going to hide behind your keyboard. Jay hasn't responded yet. So I texted him or tweeted him this morning again. Are you there? Would you like to come on the show and have a conversation? And all I hear, chirp, 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 crickets. So yes, we still have those keyboard warriors. And a lot of these people, they sit there and they bitch and complain and they point fingers and they kick and scream. But these folks are never going to donate $5 to any candidate. They're never going to go door knock. They're never going to make phone calls. They're not part of the solution. They just bitch and scream. How about you be a part of the solution? You may not agree with everything that Garrett stands for, but holy cow, I'm pretty sure I've been pretty open and transparent with what I believe in. And you'll come to find out that I agree with almost probably all of what you agree with. I may have a different kind of approach with it. I'm not just going to hammer people that don't agree with me unless you deserve it. However, I can have a friendly conversation. I can ask questions. And I'm posing the old Jay here to come on the show and defend his stance on calling me a rhino. Is it because I was around the state of Michigan trying to get Mike Rogers to win? Because who are you going to vote for? Alyssa Slotkin? So we had a choice. Mike Rogers, Alyssa Slotkin. And guess what? I agreed with 80% of what Mike Rogers stood for, right? So is I going to go around and not support the Republican candidates that won in the primary? Hell no, I'm going to support them. And that's why I always say, if you don't like that candidate, next time around, get behind somebody. Hey, donate $5, donate $10, get involved in the campaign, door knock, make phone calls, get your candidate to win. But guess what has to happen after the primary is we all got to come on board. We don't sit back and continue to throw stones and kick and scream and take our football and go home and say, you're a rhino. We don't do that. You want to do it, but I'm not going to allow you to do it because we finally got some unity in the state of Michigan. We still have some loud people, and I'm going to stand on my platform, which are very, very big. I have some of the biggest platforms in the state of Michigan, and I'm going to utilize that to get the up-to-date, accurate, and truthful information, everything I've always promised all of you, as long as I can stay afloat, because I pushed the limit today talking about the vaccine, that's for sure. But I will continue to push. I'll continue to give you guys up-to-date, accurate, and truthful information. If I'm wrong about a topic, let me know. If I'm wrong about Medicaid being okay with you being unvaccinated, let me know. The last time I checked, they are not okay with that, okay? Have a great day. Continue to hammer down because the holidays, take a break. Let me go back. Holidays you have off. Enjoy your family on Thanksgiving. Bring the President Trump security board to all your liberal family members. Christmas time, get through it. And then 2025, January, it's time to get down. Let's see who's running. And anyone who wants to run for governor, secretary of state, for attorney general, I'd love to have you on the show. Get a hold of me. Okay? There's rumors of John James, Kevin Rinke, Tudor Dixon. Hey, I'm going to be reaching out. You guys are more than welcome to come on the show and have conversation and see how your plans are going to affect all of us. Be more than happy to have you on. Okay? But also, too, it's accountability time. If you do not know how to fundraise, if you don't know how to win, then you're going to be held accountable. Okay? I'm going to ask tough questions because I've been through this rodeo. I know what it takes. I know how much work, and I appreciate everyone that wants to throw their hat in the ring, but we don't need 27 people running this time. We just need qualified candidates who are bringing the right skill set. Doesn't mean you can't get that skill set with time, energy, and hard work. Maybe now is not the time you run for governor. Maybe it's state rep. Maybe it's Congress. Maybe it's, school board, something to get some knowledge and some expertise, and then you can level up. And then one day, if you want to throw your hat into some bigger races, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate everyone who's willing to get in this evil game called politics. So I will continue to stand on my platforms, call out the hot garbage, and get behind the right candidates who I feel can move our state and country forward. So God bless you. God bless the state of Michigan. Of course, and always, God bless these United States. Until next time. Bye-bye.